co-founder of Seven Star, an import-export business between Iran and Canada. Saman is based out of Toronto. She deals with the operations and, of course, all the clients, where her father is more about the partnerships and the bigger accounts. They import pickles and nuts from Iran and bring those delicacies to the Canadian consumers. And welcome.
Thank you so much, Frances, for the introduction and for your invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you so much for your time.
Okay, likewise, Saman. So without much ado, my name is Francis Scholl. I am the founder of the M.A.D podcast, Master AI Disruption, and we interview companies that are dealing with all other companies today with this big question of how do I really bring AI to accelerate our success. So, Saman, you told me the origin story of Seven Star. So why don't you tell us a few words about this? Because I think it's important for founders to realize that it's sometimes serendipity, right? More
For sure.
than a plan. So go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. I would love that. It's actually a very funny story. We find it funny now that it's been a couple of years that we were able, thank God, to overcome all the challenges that we faced. But the story of our business, how we started, is that about 5, 6 years ago, my dad decided to start a new business here in Canada. And well, my dad back home in Iran, he was in importing and exporting business. So he knew supply chain, but it was in a different industry in clothing.
Hmm.
But he had the idea of importing and exporting and how that works. And here he got to know one grocery distributor, which he recommended my dad to import a large quantity of pickled cucumbers, which obviously my dad did. He rushed back to Iran and he purchased 4 containers of just one SKU of pickled cucumbers. And that's how we started the business. We basically, after a couple of months, we had to pay out of pocket for all the expenses for the products, cost of goods sold, and all the other expenses of supply chain. We paid out of pocket. The containers, after 4 or 5 months, they finally arrived here in Canada. And we delivered one full container to that distributor that recommended my dad to import those products. And by to this day, he hasn't paid a single penny for the whole container that he basically sold. And we were left with 3 full containers of the same SKU. And that's basically how we entered the market. We had no choice but to basically enter the market unless we had to just throw everything out. And that's how we started the business. My dad was hustling to make the connections with the smaller, medium-sized retailers, and we started from there. And now, in the past 5, 6 years that we were growing the business, we started from one SKU. We now have close to 7-ish SKUs, and we also expanded into nuts. Now we have all kinds of nuts.
Okay. All right. Wonderful story.
Yeah,
So what I'm hearing operational complexity, right? Import export have so many moving parts,
it does.
customs, logistics, suppliers, client communication, you name it. Yeah, customer service. So what's the most time consuming part of running operations right now?
Well, it's difficult. It's not easy, honestly, because in our business, it's basically my dad and I. We do it all, and we have to manage it all. And it can be now that the business is growing, it is even more complicated, and it can be harder. But you just have to adapt.
Okay, so but tell me what is the most difficult piece? The most demanding piece from an operational standpoint?
Um, Honestly, it's very hard to tell, but for me, is the logistics. It's the logistics from a procurement, from purchasing the products and having it delivered to Canada. It's a long process. We
Got
have
it.
to have internal deliveries and we have to store them in a warehouse in Iran. And then once the whole products are available and ready for the shipment, a container will go, a truck basically goes, and then it delivers to a cargo, and then from a container to here, multiple different borders, and finally it will arrive to Toronto.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So what I'm hearing is logistics, the procurement, from
yeah,
procurement to delivery, really. So that
yeah.
whole, so getting to bring over what will be your revenue, what will be the thing that you'll
Exactly.
sell.
Basically, the life cycle of the product to
Hmm.
finally get to a retailer.
Mm, got it. Okay. And then you were talking about the growth pressure.
Yeah,
Tell us more about that pressure that comes with growth, which is what everybody wants, right? Growth, but
yes.
then that comes with pain point.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
comes with pain, as you exactly mentioned it. It comes with pain, especially I think in a smaller businesses because you have limited resources, and these limited resources are from employment, from finance, from budgeting, from basically not knowing the path, and you have to figure it out yourself. So these are all the hardship, or I would better say the challenges that you are facing throughout this journey. But again, as I mentioned, you just have to adapt with it. We recently celebrated our past 5 years into the business because there is a myth that if you survive a business for 5 years, there's a higher chance for you to survive that business. And honestly, it wasn't easy. It wasn't the easiest 5 years for us. Well, we passed it, and what has helped us, it's for sure my dad's background because he was an entrepreneur back home, obviously in a different business, but the foundation is the same. And he tried to apply the same foundation here. And most important foundation, the characteristic that you have to be able to build that and build a strength within yourself, I think is the resiliency, owning a
Hmm.
business. And whenever that I talk to my other colleagues in supply chain that they are employed in the larger corporations, they face different challenges than what, let's say, I do during the
Hmm.
day. They, when you are employed in a larger corporation, it's very definitive. You know where you are going to go. You know the goal, and you can ask for help. There are other people, other resources that are going to guide you through that goal that you are going to achieve.
Hmm.
But owning a business, being a self-employed, it's basically you, yourself, and if you're lucky, 2 or 3 employees.
Hmm. So what I'm hearing is two things: the systematic thinking of putting together a foundation for the
Yeah.
business, okay, so that operation, everything that can be, systematized needs to be systematized, so that's less things to take care of. But then, of course, there are accidents. There's always, unplanned things happening. So then comes the resilience, okay, the grit, the resilience. All right. So, tell me more now that you have that foundation and that you've proven to yourself the resilience level, how the growth accelerates. Is it the problem? Is it around sales processes? Is it around admin tasks? Is it something else?
I think it's everything together. You have to, it's like a child that is growing, and that child will grow from every part of their body, right? So
Mhm.
you have to have that balance in to grow all the aspects into your business, at least a little bit. Some days, sometimes you're just working on the admin part. Some days you're just working on sales or the cost, the purchasing or the logistics. But I believe that, and that's what we've been doing for the past couple of years to try to grow the business from all aspects all at once. And that basically slows down the process. You are going to see the process slowly, but at least it's not like you're lacking one part and you're expert at another part.
Mm,
Because unless you have the resources to outsource some parts, there are
mm,
some parts in our business that, let's say for logistics, we try to do the logistics ourselves the first year, but we had a really difficult time to just understand the process and find the resources. So that's the part that we outsource usually, and we have other logistics company that we have contract with, and they are responsible to send the products here. But we are obviously in contact with them at all times because all the like the billing, lading, and all the documents are with our name, with the company's name. But still, we have a company that are expert at that process of supply chain.
mm, mm. Got it.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I get the pressure, of course, I get it. You're constantly on, right? Switched
Yeah.
on, probably 24/7 and probably 6 days, if not 7 days, I suppose, especially because of time differences. So when your Sunday ends, the Monday starts there. Yes.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
let's talk about how much of your teams, your two people teams is
Yeah.
still spent on manual work, like emails, reports, invoices, follow-ups, the admins that you were talking about.
Yeah. Right now, I do that. So that's part of my daily routine that I have to follow up with all the aspects as well as bookkeeping. We do have an
Mhm.
accountant, but the bookkeeping, I do the bookkeeping. But what I've been trying to find is to use different AI to basically ease off my mind and I can basically have more time to do what's more important. And we were able to find a couple of different AIs. Honestly, we were not able to implement them so far,
Mhm.
but that's on the process. That is something that it is on our to-do list, and we are going to for sure start, at least start with one AI and hopefully expand from there.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
So I get it, of course, good. And so the word AI is surfacing, so
Yeah,
you can focus on more value adding activities. Obviously, that's the goal, right?
exactly.
Okay. So let's talk about data and decision making.
Yeah.
How do you collect data and how currently are you currently tracking those key business metrics, like shipment timelines, like supply costs, like customer satisfaction, and how easy is it to get those
For
numbers?
sure. Yeah, so in terms of data, we have a lot of different sources of data. As you said, a customer satisfaction isn't data that we have, and the only way for us to control that is from sales of because we are B2B company, right? The
Yeah.
only way to control that and come up with a number is from the sales that is happening at the retailers. We have
Mhm.
another set of data, which is the number of sales and the growth percentage. Another set of data is, as you said, is the logistics and the growth of that part. So we have so many different aspects. And so far, we've been using Excel and we've been using different aspects of Excel. And there are so many formulas, there are so many aspects that you can use, and even at Excel, which is great. And every often, my dad and I, we do go through, especially for our sales, our retail price, our costs. We have to be on top of the cost, especially whenever that we are placing a new purchase order. We have to make sure that we are purchasing at the same price. If it's not the same price, how much it has been increased and how much it will affect our retail price. So it's the basically game of numbers.
Yeah. Good. Okay. So you were talking about all the customers, B2B customers. So I assume that in your industry, relationships is everything,
It
right?
is. Yeah.
So how do you keep in touch with those customers and track communication across deals, shipments, conversations? And
Yeah.
maybe first start with telling us how many customers are you dealing with?
Right. Right now we have close to 60-ish retailers, anywhere from small to medium-sized retailers that we work with.
Uh-huh. And so tell me more about how you manage those 60 relationships.
Yeah. So that's my dad's. He is in relationship with, he has a very close relationship with every single retailers that we work with. And he is able to manage that. And he has a very good relationship with them. He communicates with them. They basically know when the next shipment are coming and what products is inside each cargo. So he is able to communicate that. And as you said, customer service is everything, especially in a B2B, especially in our industry. It's very competitive. And there are so many different aspects that we have to take care of in order to survive in the business.
Okay, so now let's talk about AI and help
Yeah.
you move from surviving to thriving. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's so much noise about AI right now. It's everywhere, right? But what's your honest take on how relevant it feels for your kind of business?
Honestly, I think AI will help all industries that exist right now. from medical industry to agriculture to production, all the existing lines of jobs will be affected by AI, but in a good terms. I was at a seminar a couple of days ago, actually, that was about small businesses, and they mentioned that in couple of years, about 5 to maybe 6 years, a lot of jobs will be disappeared, but not in a bad way, because a lot of people are afraid of this happening in this age and in this world. But I'm not afraid, because I think if, let's say, 30 different job title will disappear, a lot more will be introduced and it will be more competitive. But basically, it's open for everyone. You just have to be fast, adaptive, and be able to learn that and apply it implement it in your existing business, or if you want to start a new business.
So short term, where do you see it, AI, therefore, helping you most in your business? Which tell me three areas that you know from experience, from seeing, what you're doing
Yeah,
and kind of the bottlenecks, or the weight of repetitive tasks and or loopholes, 60
yeah,
clients, being always on top, having reminders and everything. So tell me more. Where do you
sure.
see those biggest opportunities, low-hanging fruit for you in this in this AI era for an import-export business like yours, which is, it's not a small business necessarily because you're growing fast, but still it's not like a multinational yet.
For
Okay.
sure, yeah. Well, for most, I think the forecasting, because one of the most aspects of our business is the forecasting, to know and expect how much of each item, each SKU we are expected to sell, so that ahead of time, at least 6 months ahead of time, so that we are prepared to place that order for that product. So I think
Mhm.
forecasting is the most important thing that we have to use AI for
Mhm.
it. The other one is bookkeeping, because it takes a lot of my time daily for the bookkeeping aspects. And I'm not sure if there are already AI sites or features that I'm not using. But that's one part that I hope we can implement in our business. Another aspect is considering that we have perishable items, and sometimes it's very hard when we have like back to back containers arriving from different parts of the world. It's very hard to keep in mind that when which item was received and how long it has been stayed at our warehouse, so that we can start selling them, sometimes at a more reasonable, more economic price, so that it will move faster, only because it is getting to their expiration date. So these are all really important aspects that I think we have to start using AI for it, and it will for sure help us in the growth of the business.
So I heard forecasting, we get that, so that you can have in inventory what will be the future orders,
Yeah,
in the right quantity, so that you don't miss out on sales. Bookkeeping, we get the picture, and then the perishable items, so it's like the shelf life
exactly.
of your product, so that you do not waste, and you also deliver quality, obviously. Yes.
Exactly as you said.
So
Yeah.
how do you see your organization? If you had a magic wand,
Yeah.
what would be the three things that you would automate tomorrow? Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yes.
Um, for organization, right?
Yeah. Anything. It could be
Oh,
from.
warehouse organization is the toughest. Whenever that we have an inbound and outbound deliveries, it's very difficult to have the warehouse in order clean. Another one is inventory, because for some of the products, it's built in Canada. We pack them in Ontario. So
Mhm.
making sure that we have that organized in our system, in our inventory system.
Mm.
And the third one, I'd say, is the paperwork. We receive a lot of papers.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Love it. So let me ask you this last question. Okay. So that's a bonus question, but that's an interesting question. So what does mastering AI disruption mean to you personally as a
Mhm.
founder balancing legacy, growth, and innovation on an everyday basis?
It's a very interesting question. I'd say is to expect instability. because especially in our business, there are going to be a lot of different stabilities from logistics, from production, from sales. That's what one thing that I can think of. Another aspect I'd say is the logistics. Again, the shortages, the delays that will happen.
Mm,
Another one is to be able to build long-term relationships with
mm,
retailers as a B2B business. I think that's the key
mhm,
because it's very hard, it's very competitive. The market is usually dependable on a lot of different aspects. And if you have that long-term relationship with your retailers, you can basically sell your
mm,
products and you can grow your business from there. And one thing I think I'm thinking of right now is being able to think fast. The fast decision loop usually helps a lot. And
mm,
that's a skill I believe that you have to build throughout your business. Because
mm,
part of making a decision is just believing in yourself. And
mm,
that belief usually comes from just experience, just
mhm,
knowing yourself, that having that basic self-awareness, and also being making sure that you can trust yourself. You have examples that you can refer to that you were right or even you were wrong, but
mhm.
still you believed in yourself, and that I believe helps you to be a faster decision maker.
So what I find really interesting in your answer and very topical and really, matching my belief is that, when asked about AI disruption, you said you went back to human relationships,
Yeah,
long-term relationships, because that's what gives you leeway for negotiation or for arrangement. If something goes wrong, then you know that there is a trust in the relationship with your key accounts, but also there is trust within yourself, as you said, because through experience you've learned, and that's how you make good decisions because you have the self-confidence that you'll be able to get on the other side of it. So that's very interesting. And then, of course, as a kind of a in the background, there is, I think, AI as an accelerator in the sense that it will give you space and time so that you can really focus on what focus on what will always matter, human relationships with oneself and with others.
exactly, exactly.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. I think you're poised for great success. Okay, and I'm really interested in following your progress and see what happens. And if I can
Thank you.
help in any way, of course, let's stay in touch.
Of course. Yeah, it was a pleasure, Francis. And thank you so much again for your time, for inviting me to your podcast. I really enjoyed our talk.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.